Noah. It's good to see everybody here this evening, and we are ready to start this Pawnee Business Council special meeting, January 25th, 2018 at 6:09 p.m. I know there's a lot of busyness and there's a lot of sickness. I know here on the council we've been dealing with that, and I've been dealing with that. But we're going to continue on this evening, and so always thankful and gracious to the Creator for His many blessings, and even when we get sick, He's made a way for us to get well, and so thankful for that. And I know we have hard things that our people, our families, even here on this council, hard things that we deal with, but God is good. He's always good to us. So at this time, we're going to call upon Him, and as we go into this meeting this evening, and so ask our Vice President, Mr. Wildcat, if he would offer a prayer this evening.
God join me. Lord, it is, thank you for many blessings bestowed upon us, Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father, ask you to be with us, Heavenly Father. And be with us in this meeting, Heavenly Father. Guide us, Heavenly Father, to make the right decisions, Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father, there's many of our tribal members that are not feeling well. They're sick, and actually put your healing hand on them, Heavenly Father. We also have tribal members that are in special need of your healing hand, Heavenly Father. They may be going under surgery soon, and I ask you to be with them and guide the doctor's hands and bless all those nurses and assistants, Heavenly Father, will be doing those surgeries, Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father, I ask you to bless all our elders, Heavenly Father. Watch over, guide, and protect them, Heavenly Father. And Father, be with our servicemen and women who are serving in harm's way overseas, Heavenly Father. Bring them home safely, Heavenly Father. And Father, bless our children, Heavenly Father, for they are our future, Heavenly Father. Watch over, guide, protect them, and help us raise them in the right way and the good way, Heavenly Father, with your blessings, Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father, I ask you at the conclusion of this meeting that everybody have a safe trip home, Heavenly Father. I ask all this in Jesus' name, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Darrell. This time we will have a roll call, please.
Bruce Pratt.
Here.
Darrell Wildcat.
Here.
Patricia McCray. Here. Angela Thompson. Here. Sammy Atson. Here. Donna Hare. Here. Charles Lunchey.
Here.
Charles Nightchief.
Here.
All right, I declare that we have a quorum. And so we will move to item number 3, the approval of the agenda. That was on her.
We're away.
Okay. Let me turn myself down. I think we're all turned up. Some of us may be turned up a little too high since it was over. Might adjust your volume. Okay. All right. Where are we?
Motion to approve.
Approval of agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Donna Hare. Right. Call for the vote.
Darrell Wildcat.
Yes.
Patricia McCray. Yes. Angela Thompson.
Yes.
Sammy Atson.
Yes.
Donna Hare. Yes. Charles Lunchey.
Yes.
Charles Nightchief.
Yes.
All right. The agenda is approved. Moving to item number 4, Pawnee Business
Council President report. Where's my papers here? I have, last month I attended the American Indian Chamber of Commerce meeting they had in Red Rock. They invited me to be the speaker, and so I went up there and spoke to those that were in attendance. There was about 30 up there. Spoke on the economic development and specifically our proposed ag program that we're trying to have here at the Pawnee Nation. Talked about our expansion there in our gaming and in our Stone Wolf enterprise, and also spoke about trying to work with the city of Pawnee, our communities, and how we as tribal nations have the burden, I believe it's the burden of being a good neighbor alongside with the cities and the towns and the communities in which we exist. You know, like here in Pawnee, we have a huge economic footprint, like most tribes do, and so you know, talked about establishing and having a good relationship with all the other communities and all the other entities, being a good neighbor. And talked about that have been a good community member. It goes both ways. And so spoke to the group there. Very cold that day and things. The OTO chairman was there along with his tribal council and some of the other northern tribes there. And so really enjoyed that. It was a good meeting. Also attended the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board meeting down in Oklahoma City. And you know, the big emphasis this year is the expanding of grant opportunities for the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board, of the grant opportunities with CMS, CDC, the SAMHSA programs, the DOJ funds, you know, all these things, and you know, working in cooperation with the tribes. But a lot of these funds are specific for the tribal epidemiology centers like the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board, and also specific for health boards, and they have a better chance of getting especially those big grants, and working with the smaller tribes like the Pawnees in getting assistance from these grant opportunities. And so you know, there at the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board, they have really made some good expansion there. They're expanding into a new facility, existing facility, but on the second floor there. So it's getting bigger and better. But the main emphasis for the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board is to assist tribal nations in health disparities here in Oklahoma. And so had a good meeting there, very well attended. A lot of folks there at the health board meeting. Also attended the STAC meeting there in DC. That's the Secretary's Tribal Advisory Council. Met with the acting director there, who was there. Just got the information yesterday, I believe, or maybe today, that the new director, Alex Azar, has been confirmed for the HHS secretary, and so he's the new head of that department. Once again, you know, they talked about the major funding opportunities coming in the fight against opioids, against the prescription drugs. There's supposed to be a lot of funding opportunities available in the country. And you know, our concerns have always been that in these funding opportunities that the tribal nations have specific set-asides as sovereign governments to be able to access these funds too. Once again, you know, most of the times they'll try to fund these through the states, and many times the tribal nations don't have good opportunities with the states to receive any of the funding. And so, you know, we expressed those concerns to the acting director. Once again, they tasked me during the meeting of bringing up the special diabetes program and the funding there. They have this continuing resolution that is in place right now, and the SDPI was not attached to it. And we were promised that it would be attached to it. And so, you know, we expressed ourselves to the administration, to those there that, you know, we have very, we have data. We have the data that the Special Diabetes Program works in Indian country. It is vital. You know, it provides $150 million in assistance to tribal nations, specific to tribal nations, and it has dropped the diabetes numbers. It assists many of our tribal peoples, our elders, our folks, all of that, and so, you know, we need that funding. We need the funding. I just heard today that they're supposed to try to attach it to the new CR that is being debated right now. And so, you know, they're asking for help in contacting congressmen and those that have the say in this. So, you know, so the special diabetes program needs to continue. They also had a lot of talk about the CHIP, you know, assisting the children, but that's a national effort. But we also get a part of that too, and so we talked about that, and you know, that's in this new CR, and so the CHIP funding went through, and once again we expressed that these the fight that is there in Congress is not beneficial to anybody, and especially, you know, tribal nations, to the different entities, IHS, BIA, all of those. When they had the shutdown, you know, even though it was just a few days, you know, there's an impact. There's an impact that is always felt, and so express those things to them. They talked about the HHS budget, specifically the IHS budget. The budget formulation is coming up, which I'll be helping with that. I'm one of the co-chairs on that, and so I was the only co-chair that was there at the meeting, and so was able to speak to the HHS folks there about our funding and how it needs to be distributed. This year is the last year that we are asking for the small increase. In 2019, that's when our budget formulation has asked for significant increases. I think next year we're asking for $10 billion more dollars in increase to try to catch us up to where we're really lacking. You know, the IHS budget is only funded at about 55% of the actual need. The actual need in Indian country is about $70 billion to try to catch us up, especially in our facilities, in all the health disparities, the impact of the Affordable Care Act, which is still intact, and the unfunded unmet needs there that is there in the law. So we were wanting Congress to do their part and help us in their obligations as a sovereign nation, as their trust responsibility, their treaty obligations. And so you know, there's always a lot of information that STAC provides. Brian Clattisby is one of the newest members, and he had a lot to say. Russell Begay was elected as the Vice President of STAT, and you know, he also has a lot to say from the Navajo side. And so it was good to see those folks there. Brutally, bitterly cold up there. It was cold here, but it was, I mean, the wind up there was brutal and really burned my lips walking to the buildings. Didn't have my chapstick with me, so it was really cold. And so, you know, I was just talking with Angela here a little while ago and sharing with her the calendar for next month in February. We got budget formulation coming up. There's direct service tribes coming up. NCAI is coming up, and so there's a lot of opportunity to speak and talk on behalf of the tribes on behalf of Indian country of trying to get help, try to get assistance, to try to get our fair share due to the tribal nations. And so those were some of the meetings that I attended, as well as some of the meetings around here. Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
Do we have a strategy right now in looking at the meth and opioid epidemic that's going on? Have we even started thinking about those things? There's a great opportunity for it. I don't think any of our neighboring tribes have anything really concrete right now, and it would really behoove us to start looking at that opportunity. It's unfortunate that it's everywhere, not only amongst our own tribal reserve, but out within the city of Pawnee too, where you can leverage funding, perhaps, from home health to support that.
Is there well, that's one of the things that they're trying to develop. They're getting committees together, national committees. HHS, Indian Health Service. There's an opioid attack that they're trying to develop, trying to get folks on, of trying to, because just like when the Department of Justice, when we had the needs in the law enforcement, and they released a lot of monies, and the tribal nations was able to get that. The Pawnees got a lot of those monies, and you know, we were able to get officers and get better equipment and all those things. That's the same kind of I think resources that's going to be available to the states and to tribal nations and to our country. Is the same way. You know, HHS and President Trump, you know, that's their big thing. That's their big push. And so there are developing things right now. All they're doing is throwing them in jail. You know, they're just throwing them in jail. And you can check our Pawnee County roster right now, and a lot of substance abuse folks in there and things. But you know, the Wichitas and the Delawares and those folks down there in southwest Oklahoma, they're trying to get a treatment center.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're trying to get a treatment center down there, and so they're a little bit before the curve. The monies aren't yet released for what they're doing, but they're going to be right there. And so,
well,
yeah.
that's where we need to be.
Yeah, that's where we need to be.
That's why I'm asking for strategy. We need to think about those things. And we also really should also be, and this is going to be off topic a little bit, but anyways, more driving for health would be, I know that the state of Oklahoma is looking at allowing the development and growth of cannabis, and for holistic and medication, and I think that would really be a great opportunity for us too. That would, you know, really put us in the market for growth and development outside of gaming.
I don't know if Jeff Sessions would like that.
Well, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
So we need to have our eye on the ball.
Back in August, we met with George Sally, me, Brad Sewell, but he works for Lake Behavioral Health, and we were reaching out to him because, you know, they're updating the hospital. And that's an outsourced entity that they're located in Florida, but they get a lot of funding and opportunity, but they got to make sure that that hospital is functional for them to come in. So what we were doing back in late August, early September is data collecting. And that's the biggest factor that we've noticed around here is on the opioids, we don't have a lot of statistical data at the moment. So we're trying to accumulate ways to find that data, because it's not Pawnee regional, it's more just the state or just our
It's
district.
everywhere. It has no boundaries, right?
No, but on the movement of trying to develop a behavioral health therapist or a behavioral health entity to not just address, you know, opioids, but it can also address like OCD or any type of behavioral health issues. We've made conversations with entities of maybe utilizing the Pawnee Hospital that's closed down right now. It's bringing that in as a selling factor to our people. So it's in the works, but we're still trying to collect the data right now for our
August,
regional-
September, I think that we could get some data.
Good questions.
We're working on it.
Yeah, I think it would really behoove us.
I think,
It just generates business outside of gaming, and that's where we need to be. We need to get out of the box and start really thinking aggressively on how we can generate income and put people to work.
I think there should be data out there because the state of Oklahoma just one of the state questions was whether to, and it's an unfunded mandate, it passed the state question passed, but it's an unfunded mandate. And it was basically geared towards women that were incarcerated, that were diagnosed, whether it was mental health and substance abuse. So I think we can use some of that state data for Pawnee County and then, you know, make some, I don't know, adjustments in regard to specific Pawnee Nation. I'm not sure if there's going to be Native American specific, but I'm sure that that data that they have, they do it by race and gender, you know. So what I would like to see, even with the MSPI dollars that we got, it was a huge amount that, this is just, you know, throwing ideals out there, is that there's a lot of meth and opioid epidemic is aggressive here in Pawnee County. We have a lot of people, like Bruce said, in Pawnee County that are dual diagnosed, but they just keep sending them back to jail, then into DOC, where they become even worse. You know, easy access in DOC, so they're not really addressing the issue. We need to address the issue the issues is it takes too dang long for when somebody determines to quit, they need to go into a system right then and there and get the treatment and quarantine or whatever until they get their TB test and their blood test, and then send them on to treatment, then a reintegration, and then a social service program that helps them find jobs. You know, that's one of the major things is incarceration, they can't find jobs. So it repeats the cycle. So we need to address those issues, and I think all of us in this area, all the tribes in this area, can throw our money together in a pot and address those and build this magnificent facility.
Yes.
You know, I know it costs money, but then you get accreditation and then you get third-party billing. You know, it can be done, it's just gonna take some maneuvering, and we need to figure out how, because our people are falling by the wayside.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents.
And getting back to that cannabis growing, it's not like growing pot for people to smoke. It's just actually being used for medication use, pills, what have you.
There is something coming up in February or July in Tulsa, and I'm wanting to go, but I'm asking as a part of TDC to go.
I want to go.
Yeah, we need to at least check it out.
I
Get
think
the
so.
information.
Check it out.
I think so. Well, yeah, we don't want to be behind the 8 ball.
Anyway,
Thanks.
yeah, thank you. Good questions. And so, Do we have any other committee reports? Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
Budget committee met, and that's already on the agenda, but some other meetings I did attend was the Elders Advisory Committee meeting. I participated via conference call on Saturday, and they are making strides. They made some decisions, and they're developing their forms. One of the major decisions was that last year, we were approached about whether to pay non-tribal members or tribal members. The advisory council made the decision to provide options to those non-tribal members because we know we can't fund, because we're going to be barely able to fund the tribal members that are going at this point with the shortfall. So I kind of told them about the shortfall and to be cognizant of that, and they've already started developing the amounts and going to get that to us, so to present to us in, what was it, February or March?
I think in February.
Yeah, the February meeting. And so we'll have a final number at that point in time. But they're going to do some heavy fundraising, and I want to challenge the council to help in any way in selling chances. I volunteered my time in selling chances and also helping cook at fundraisers and things like that, donate items. But the biggest way that you all could help is sell chances for them. If you all would be willing to, that would be great. Because it's going to take a group effort because we want them to go. We want them to enjoy themselves. It's in September in San Diego, and we all know that's a high, the lodging and the per diem rate is pretty high up there. So we got, less than 8 months to fundraise, and they've been fundraising all this time. So I just challenge you all to help in that manner if possible.
Thank you.
And with that said, I just have an idea also. That TDC and our retail, maybe they can also have sales for, for a television or something.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because that was another idea, and I wanted to give it to you all to think about, and I'll take it before budget committee and then present it in a formal agenda item. But also maybe the council donating 2 big ticket items so that they can sell chances on and to raise money. So I'll bring that information back at that time too as well.
Yes, Donna.
We had an enrollment meeting since our last meeting, and we've been working on our enrollment statute, so that's continuing. We had some scheduling problems with the HR, and so we didn't meet this month, but we'll meet next month.
Okay. Yes.
We were supposed to have a proposal review committee meeting on January 16th. Matt Reed was going to put in a proposal for the battlefield in relation to Master Canyon, but the landlord never got back with us, so past the due date, so we had to cancel it.
All right. All right. Thank you for those reports. We'll move on to item number 6, and this is a travel request. Yes.
The travel request that I have, TBIC's in March, and of course that's reimbursable by DIA. I want to go ahead and get that approval so we can start the process when it's time, so we don't miss out on any hotel. And we won't be going through the tribe anymore. BIA will book everything, is my understanding. So that lets you all off the hook. Self-governance, I would like to attend the annual conference. It's April 22nd through the 26th in New Mexico. I'd like to go ahead and get permission because that fills up quick, the lodge, the host hotel. So, and also I'm not requesting this, but I think somebody needs to attend. There's a Department of Justice tribal consultation in concert with NCAI. It's February 15th. At the same time, I would hope that if somebody goes from council that they could attend that session, and I'm willing to help write up some positions and present them to you all so that whoever goes can present that on our behalf. It's about funding, how we want the funding to come down. Right now, it's a coordinated tribal assistance solicitation through the Department of Justice, where they have different priorities like tribal court, DOJ, OVW, violence against women, all these different purpose areas. And then you apply for them. It's highly competitive. But what we're looking at from TBIC as when they transferred them to CTAS, which is a good thing the way they do it, but the money has really diminished since they've done that. So they're providing some options on how to get down the funding, and we need to have a say-so in that, on what we want.
Well, let me ask this, is anybody, I am going to be up there in DC February 12th through the 16th. I have a direct service tribe meeting, which the government pays for, and then I have budget formulation meetings, which the government pays for. 2 days each of those. So the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And so on the 15th, what she's talking about, that same week is NCAI, but I don't think I can make that meeting because I'll be at the budget formulation, and I'm one of the chairs of that meeting. I chair that meeting, and so anybody from council would want to go to NCAI, and this is NCAI is the 12th through the 15th.
How are we on travel funds? Did we reduce our travel funds this year?
What's our funding?
Well, we're starting a new calendar year, but we will be monitoring that, and because they're going to have to scrub the budgets once again. So.
There's also, the budget formulation is going to continue on the 28th, February 28th and the 1st, but the government will also pick that one up. Have a UNICOT meeting on the 26th at Skytook on February 26th. Yeah.
I need to add one, the January 31st. It was supposed to be yesterday, but they canceled it due to the government closing, and they rescheduled it for January 31st. It's the final meeting before we go to TBIC to present our priorities for the 2020 budget formulation process. So usually Bruce and I go to that, so I'm asking for permission on that one.
Yeah, me too.
President Pratt?
Yes.
On that UNICOT?
Yes.
Is that tomorrow?
Oh, I'm sorry, February.
Very well, thank you.
Sorry. Any others? All right, we can entertain a motion to accept these travel requests. And if any from council wants to go, NCAI, let me know.
Where is that at?
It's in DC.
In DC?
Yeah. They call this the winter session. So we can entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made. Is there a second? 30 seconds. Call for the vote.
Darrell Walker,
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson,
Yes.
Sammy Atson,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Yes.
Charles Longship,
Yes.
Charles Knight.
Yes.
All right, so those are approved. Move to item number 8, Executive Director report.
Good evening, council. I guess the first thing I'll bring up, obviously, is the budget. We are currently finishing up our closeouts in 2017, getting our cash flow projections done and closing all of those out in 2017. Once we do that, we'll roll into 2018's budgets and we'll start scrubbing them. Some of our spending restrictions are still in place until we know a little bit more information. We haven't had a chance to meet with the Tribal Development Corporation this month. I guess their numbers haven't been improved yet or whatnot. So, but as soon as we get that, we'll keep tracking it. Right now we're tracking it. And the end of last quarter, growth is kind of stagnant. So we want to see what happens in this new year that's coming up. Now it increased a little bit, but it's kind of even, I guess is what I would say. But we are pinching every penny, and we're doing a heck of a good job about it, and we're able to keep things running the way they are, keep providing our services to our tribal members, because that's why we exist. And at the same time, keep certain positions. One of the positions we are desperately trying to keep is the NAGPRA position. Maggie Rice, her grant is expiring soon. She's writing a new one, but that's a very important position for us because she's done a fantastic job of doing repatriations. We've got another big one coming up from Harvard. It's the Peabody. I think there's 57 individual Pawnees that we're going to be repatriating and bringing back to Nebraska for reburial. And I think that's happening in the spring. So we're looking forward for that. So we will go through the 2018 budgets. We will scrub them hard. And like I said last time, my goal is to present the council with multiple options about a bunch of myriad different subjects with regards to the budgets, just so you all know that where we stand. And I guess the silver lining to all this is I think this is the first time the Pawnee Nation has accounted for every single penny we have, and because we've scrubbed everything, and so we know exactly how much money we have in the bank, how much we're expending every month, and so it's a good place for the nation to be in, actually, because beforehand our accounts were spread out all over the place, and we really didn't have an idea of how we were operating. But now we know down to the penny, so that's a good thing. So we'll just continue to make the necessary changes we need to in spending habits to kind of curtail kind of excessive spending and whatnot. But that's kind of why we were talking about the punch list, is because that's one thing that will help us as we move through is developing a coherent plan for maintaining our buildings, maintaining our structures, so we're not constantly going back and dealing with it on an emergency basis, because that's expensive and it's time consuming, and it's just better if we just maintain our own buildings. One of my directives to the staff is to be responsible for their own workspaces, right? We know we have housekeepers, but you can be a responsible employee. You can take care of your trash. You can ensure that your office space is clean and tidy. We don't need to have cluttered spaces, and we don't need to wait for housekeeping to come in and do the simple things like picking up paper towels off the floor or whatnot. We can do that as employees and take a little pride in the workspace. And I think that's slowly moving through. I'm making that a top priority for my managers, especially giving them kind of my guidance about what I expect of them. But those are little things that we can do. And obviously the other big issue budget-wise is the congressional budget at the national level. Right now we're operating under a continuing resolution that will take us to February 8th. We did have one weekend of a shutdown, I guess, in Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so one day lost. But we made preparations for that as well. I got with our grants and contracts manager, our finance manager, and the planning division director, and what we did was we started identifying the federal grant programs that may be impacted by such a closure, and how that impact would happen, and how we could kind of prop those funding programs up should we have to. The good news is you know, we don't have to worry about that quite yet. Congress has felt authority to renegotiate for budget approval. But we are making preparations, so we're not caught off guard. The last thing we want to do or last thing we want to be is caught off guard with any kind of shenanigans that happen up in Washington, D.C. So the other thing we're working wholeheartedly on, and I'm pretty excited about it now, is the ag plan. You know, because it started out as this big kind of generalized plan that is now getting more specific as we speak. We had a meeting today with the Economic Development Authority here in Oklahoma, well, the Oklahoma Economic Development Authority. Where she at, Shawnee?
So Shawnee is our district.
Yeah, our district is in the Shawnee district. And we're very excited because now we're getting the subject matter experts in here, the people with specific skill set to kind of identify the areas that we're looking to create and flourish in. And, you know, I was talking to Brian earlier that I have a 5, 10, and 20-year goal for the Pawnee Nation, and the 5-year goals are modest, the 10-year goals are modest, 20-year goals are pretty heady, I would say. My goal is for, in 20 years, to have the Pawnee Nation be a dominant leasehold owner within our own jurisdiction, exporting what we do agricultural-wise to our allotment lands and making them productive. So I'm pretty excited because, again, we have the experts coming to the table. We've identified the stakeholders. You know, I'm definitely excited that TDC is on board with this as well to help leverage some of the things that they can do. Right now, it's up to Brian and I to figure out the funding path that we're going to take, and right now it looks like it's going to be a mixture, but it's going to be good. I mean, we're going to try to get this grant through, the SETS grant, and provide for a very specific plan with all the stakeholders. And I'm just really excited about it because I think it's going to really diversify what we do here as a nation and give us an alternate revenue stream, and that's extremely important for us. What else we have? As far as the opioid issue, yes, we are looking into it. We are trying to not play catch up because I think it's really kind of speeding up now, but we're on it and we're riding the crest of the wave. Brian said data is hard to come by. It kind of is. We do have some data, but it's pretty sporadic. And although we do have data, Treasurer Thompson, that shows that Native Americans are affected in certain populations, it's really not a relevant sample for our jurisdiction because it's very specific to inmates and other things. But I mean, it's all helpful because we need to add that into account. But that fits right into kind of what Dawn is working on, which is a probation and parole consortium, because we're looking at all of the aspects of the life of a dual diagnosis person, which is psychiatric and substance abuse issues. And like we said, oftentimes the state of Oklahoma just throws them in jail. They love throwing people in jail here. So what we need to do is we need to capture those folks when they come out by providing therapy, providing services, and providing like tarot jobs. So we're looking at all of those options with respect to the opioid issue that we face. And right now we're just on the cusp of gathering the information so we can go after the funding that we need, and the data will support our arguments for that kind of funding. Other things that we're looking at is we want to try to get a dialysis center somewhere around here because I know how much of a burden it is for folks to drive their folks to Tulsa or Stillwater for dialysis, and that's going to be part of our overall SETS plan, our economic development plan, because it's becoming an issue, and it has been an issue here for a while, is access to good health care. So we're looking at all of those things and moving forward. So do I have any questions?
You do.
Yes.
Maggie Rice.
Yes.
So we're going to just keep her where she's at, right? And she's generated a lot of money for us.
Well, and yes, and because she's writing a grant, I think to redo the grant is due in March, and because she's writing the grant and we're going to submit that, we're going to keep her on.
Well, yeah, I think she generated $650,000 last year, right? Something around that, the NAGPRA program.
Oh, no. That's TIPO. That's
TIPO.
Yeah.
Her TIPO.
She's named.
But she was also involved with that last year, am I right? She went around and
she did repatriation, and which is different. TIPO is kind of just a consultant work for,
Yes.
but she did stuff that, I mean, I don't care that she didn't generate any income, to tell you the
Yeah.
truth, because she pulled a lot of our relatives out of museums and put them back in the ground.
That's right.
And to me, that is one of the primary purposes
I
why
was
we
just
exist.
confused, I thought that was her role was to both. So also one more thing, dialysis.
Yeah.
That's really a great thing to bring here to us. I would just say that we probably would like to do a feasibility study.
Sure.
And get all that. I know a local tried that. I don't know if they did do it or not, but it never opened, okay?
Yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
we want to make sure we can open it and run it and people can benefit.
Correct, because it's got a, you know, and that's one of the things that one of the directives I've given to Brian is when we're formulating these plans, the most important thing we can do as a nation, because we know our limitations and at the same time we know our assets, is identify the relevant stakeholders. There's no reason why we should have to do everything by ourselves. We can join forces with other partners that are struggling with the same issues that we have. And by doing that, we spread the risk and we spread the cost of developing these things. And we have. I told the lady from the Economic Development Association Authority today that we have a built-in kind of group already because we're all part of the Pawnee agency and we all kind of know each other. We've been married. We have the same issues. Yes, sir.
So at the very early stages, are you thinking about developing a travel run dialysis or contracting with somebody else?
No, travel run.
Okay.
Travel run. And we understand that there's a lot of hurdles to go through. There's a lot of code problems and certification issues that we have to address. But I think it's absolutely necessary that we focus on, for us, it's as a government, it should be education and healthcare. Those are the two biggest issues that we face as a tribe. So we need to start looking at ways that we can bring those standards up to where we want to bring to be. And we know that we don't have the resources necessary to go out and develop all the stuff on our own. But we also know that we just can't go, oh, somebody's giving us $5 million, so let's go build a building. You know, we actually have to lay the groundwork by developing a coherent, strong business plan that addresses a lot of, as much of the concerns as we can going into it, so we don't fail right off the bat.
Yeah, they're basically regulated like a hospital facility, so there's tons of regulation and rules and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not just the building and hook somebody up.
Yeah, and Brian has been
very involved.
Brian's been meeting with the medical task force, and this is part of their vision as well, because they're, you know, like Dr. Evans, well, I met with him recently, their medical task force has had a great idea for bringing urgent care facilities back here to Pawnee.
Sure, there's no question the needs there.
Yeah, I know, but now it's about, so now it's about, how do we get somebody's idea? Because a lot of people around here have a lot of great ideas, and they're all worthwhile and all worth pursued. But for some reason, there's not the effort to put the work in necessary to lay the foundation to make it successful. And the reason why, I think, is because too often we try to do things in a vacuum. We say, okay, this is going to be a Pawnee Nation project, so we're going to try to do it all on our own. Well, that doesn't lead us anywhere. We need to try to identify who is going to benefit from this and who would be willing to partner with the Pawnee Nation in a productive way so that we can have really strong and strengthened economic foundation for what we want to do. So, yes, ma'am.
So your SEDS project, it's the actual project is to do the feasibility study for the diabetes.
We're actually going broader than just diabetes. We're going, the SEDS we talked to the lady today from EPA, and she's been successful in doing this stuff before, and we're actually going to develop a plan that identifies basically for everybody around here, the relevant industries here that are successful, those industries that aren't successful, develop the data that we need, and so that we can start specifically taking that data and applying for grants that address a certain area. Because the one thing that we are sorely lacking in is accurate data. And all of these grants, especially like USDA and other agencies, require specific data for specific things. And so what our plan is to right now we're going to work with the city of Pawnee. We're looking to work with the county commissioners of Pawnee County. because we want to engage them as stakeholders to identify both the liabilities and the assets of both the Pawnee Nation and the City of Pawnee and the County of Pawnee. Once we identify those weak areas, then we can go out and get data to support whatever endeavor we want to do in the future, because right now we just don't have that. So for instance, we want to do a dialysis center, but is there data to support the successful venture of a dialysis center? We know that people go to dialysis. We know I've had family members, still have family members that go to dialysis. But does that mean that there's enough folks to sustain a center here in Pawnee? Well, we don't know that because we don't have the relevant data. And so that's what our SEDS is going to focus on. It's not going to focus on one specific industry. It's going to be an economic breakdown of our jurisdiction, essentially.
And one more question.
Yes.
Don't we have somebody that was data mining for us before?
Yeah, but it was for specifically just for agricultural purposes. It didn't have anything to do with economic infrastructure or.
I see.
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that on the NAGPRA, because I helped write that grant, one of the outcomes the outcomes of that project was to create a database. I would like to see that database.
Yeah, it's
Could
good.
you forward it to me? I would like to see it.
Oh, I don't know about forwarding it to you. It's pretty big. It might be something that you might have to go visit Maggie in the office.
Okay, so it shows what's been repatriated, what still needs to be repatriated, and all those components.
Yeah, and she's adding more to it. I think she's getting ready to go to the Fields Museum, because I think one of the things we need to do is do another inventory of some of these institutions that have our stuff. And we also know that in Kansas, there's I think KU, the remains are stored at Kansas State University, but I think they belong to KU, to the Kansas Archaeological Survey. But there's a big swath there that hasn't been gone through in a long, long time, and so that's part of it. And she has those on the list, but she's identified quite a lot of where our stuff is.
Okay, I'll go visit her. Thank you.
Yeah. But is there like not a SharePoint or a shared drives that we can pull this type of information down?
Well, no. Right now, we kind of, because it's in the development stage, we kind of want to keep this information on a single machine confidentially.
Scary.
Well, I know, we're backing it up, of course, but not have it accessed on the website, or not have it accessed through the...
Not a website, but just a shared drive where you can go, we all have...
Read only.
Yeah, read-only shared drives.
Yeah, we may be able to do that. Let me talk to IT.
I don't know why we don't have one already. I mean, that's just kind of standard. Right?
Well, not for that information. I mean, that's not standards for that kind of information. Kind of like our ArcGIS. That ArcGIS information is not, it's on its own server as well, because there's some information that we can't have people coming into the unit and hack into.
Well, that's, yeah, but you have controls for that as well. I mean, you can figure out the fact.
Yeah, sure. All right. Yes, ma'am.
At the last council meeting date, Councilor Adson had asked you about a fleet, and you're working on that now. My question is, are all the tribal vehicles being housed on campus?
On the reservation?
On the reserve?
Yeah,
except the emergency.
The police cars aren't.
They're excluded.
And I think the Terrell van is at the Berry building at night. So there's a few that are off, but the vast majority are in on this reservation at night.
I just want us to be consistent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's almost complete. I think I'll probably bring that by probably mid-February's meeting. I think that'll be a done deal for our management, our food management policy.
So nobody's taking them home other than law enforcement?
That is, as far as I know, yes.
Okay.
Because they've been directed to park their vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Right, move to item number 9, and you have received the...
No, I forgot. I forgot to email my report to Cindy this afternoon. So I'm going to email it to her first thing in the morning, and my report will be dispersed then. So sorry about that, my oversight. While I do have the floor, at least briefly, Councilor Sammy brought up something which is very timely for not only the nation, but for my office. Right now, I am working on a tribal probation and parole consortium. Pawnee Nation will be leading. My goal is, and I've already been talking to Call and Osage, they want to join, likely Oto, Missouri as well. And the idea is for Indians coming out of the system, for the consortium to supervise those Indians instead of the state. I think the consortium would do a better job, and also my goal is to incorporate some Indian culture into the process. And then I also envision Taro being part of it because employment is a big deal with any recovery plan. So I look for big things to happen with Taro. I think Taro will be a sister unit, governmental unit in that. Another thing too is I've had some interesting discussions with the state. The state of Oklahoma is very excited about the program. We've had 2 meetings. Andrew has attended both of them. The last one, Andrew and Steve attended, which was very helpful. I wanted Steve to attend because I see Tara as a part of this. Another thing too is that the director, I met with the director of Oklahoma Probation and Parole, and he wants me to present the plan to the State District Attorney's Council at their next meeting so that the DAs are aware of this. He believes that this actually works, that it could be a national model. Hopefully it will. I also have reached out to the American Probation and Parole Association, have a contact there. She tells me that they're very, very interested. She also tells me that they are willing to come to Pawnee at their own expense to help us out in any way in setting it up. And she has contacts at the U.S. Department of Justice, and she's very confident that the nation will likely be able to get whatever funding we need in order to put it together. So this is really big stuff. And also, I think you're on target. You mentioned treatment centers, Sammy, and I think that a treatment center would be, the Probation and Parole Consortium could be an excellent segue to get a treatment center so that we could show if there's a need, if we can establish data like we've been talking about through the Probation and Parole Consortium, then maybe we can present that data and get funding through DOJ for a treatment center. Right now, it seems like from what I've been hearing from folks in Indian country around here is that the current administration has tightened the belt on almost everything. But there are generally 3 areas they have not, and that is defense, agriculture, and especially Department of Justice. So these issues we can, I think, tackle with DOJ money if we just put it together. So I'm very excited about it, and I think the treatment center, we may be able to segue into doing that. So anyway, I'll keep you posted as well as the entire council.
Okay, there's Andrew. On this, there's National Institute of Health has funding available for grants on this. Also, funding announcements came out this week on Office of Minority Health.
Yeah.
There's a lot of announcements out there that are brand new on .gov, grants.gov.
And I think the other missing piece of the puzzle too that we need to explore, and I think some attorneys will be here next week to do, is joining forces with some of the tribes that are suing these pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
I think that's another avenue towards stemming, hopefully stem the tide of the opioid epidemic here. And they will come here and present their, I think one of them is working with Cherokee right now as well, their opioid case. So.
Andrew and I talked about this, and my feeling is, and maybe his too, I don't know, my view is that what these attorneys are doing is they're building a class action. And when they build a class action, they want more than one Indian tribe, so that as a united front, you can sue these people in federal court, win, and actually get some money to do some productive things in curing these problems with these drugs. So, one thing I forgot to mention, and that is, it just happened today. That is my contact at Veterans Administration contacted me, and there's also money available for tribal drug courts. So I'm definitely going to be looking into that, especially in light of the Probation and Parole Consortium. And, you know, the numbers don't lie. Reality is what it is. There's a lot of people who are currently incarcerated, and the reason they are is because of drug charges. And we talked about a veterans court, which is a hybrid drug court. We might end up doing that first. So we'll see.
Well, I would really, really like to see us have the veterans in mind for transportation. Just, you know, and I talked about having a liaison up there at the senior building that could actually have a laptop and could access the VA, access Social Security and stuff, not only for the elders, but for the veterans, be able to take them back and forth to their appointments. This is critical stuff. And we really, really need to pursue the transportation. I know it's a lot. I know that we just keep giving you ideas and thoughts. And it's all good, you know, to encourage us to give a transportation department that could do that. And getting back to the DOJ and you know, the cruisers coming out, I think it's great because we have the culture. They're not going into some stone cold building and having someone, you know, just.
Well, Don and I met with we met twice, but last week with Director Duckworth, who's the head of the Department of
Probation and Parole.
His case managers manage a caseload of 100 and what was it, 106?
No, they're down to 106. They used to be 150 or 152.
Yeah.
That's one of the ideas of a probation and parole consortium is that these caseworkers in the consortium would have lighter caseloads so they can spend more time with these probationers. It's important that these probationers are given the confidence, the self-esteem, and the practical tools that they need in order to succeed. Otherwise, we're just repeating the same thing with recidivism, and it costs taxpayer money. And another thing too, as I've said before in my reports, and that is that you know, thriving, strong Indian families are at the foundation of Indian sovereignty.
Sure.
And that's why we have to do things like this tribal probation and parole in order to at least try to get to that point where we have strong, thriving, successful, productive Indian families.
Well, it also drives the cultural diversity too of keeping them within what they know.
We went to, when we showed up at the meeting, it's standing room only in that probation and parole. I mean, it's out the door. I mean, there's no way that you can effectively manage it to people because people are going to slip through the cracks. And then when you throw in the cultural differences as well, I mean, it's not, there's not a chance.
Well, thank you for that, Ron.
No, I hear a lot about, and I do know that there is a problem with reintegration and coming out of the correction, but what we're really missing here is prevention and intervention, getting them and some assistance before they enter into that. I mean, the incarceration piece is just one component. I think we need to focus on prevention and intervention.
Absolutely.
Just my point.
I've got a question about the medical marijuana. The feds have said it's still illegal, but they've kind of looked away on states that have legalized it. And I know Oklahoma in June has a proposition coming up to legalize it now. If that doesn't pass, we really can't proceed, right? Because even though you might have sovereignty of doing it, you still have to go in a state and across state lines to.
Yeah, that's the practical problem. I don't think that the legal problem, I think the nation could, by utilizing its sovereign powers, go ahead and do it. However, the problem would be, you know that there'll be a highway patrolman sitting on the other side of the Green Bridge every day, all day long.
Yeah, so if the state referendum doesn't pass, we're kind of going to be stuck.
Indirectly?
Yes. Sure.
And another thing too is a sidebar, remember, you know, Senator Langford, he has been helpful at different times. I remember when this came up in one of the conversations and he said that if we ever talked about medical marijuana that he would be less willing to help on future projects, but that's a sidebar.
Okay.
Well, there is a marijuana growing 101 class in Denver here in 2 weeks if anyone wants to go.
Yeah.
Professor, I have a question. What happened to TDC tonight? they're on the agenda.
Oh, no.
Well, I don't know, we had a meeting and we decided from that meeting, you want to tell, I mean,
Yeah, they're supposed to report once a month on the second meeting of the month.
Which is now?
But it's a written report, which is a written report. And so we get a written report once a month. And then Roger and JR are going to present quarterly.
that's what was agreed to at the joint meeting.
That's what was agreed.
So where's the finances tonight?
As I emailed you the other day, the finances, there was a licensing issue with, a vendor licensing issue. The vendor failed to renew their license. That is no fault of TDC's or Gaming Commission. Gaming Commission notified them in ample time. They just failed to renew it in a timely manner, the vendor. And so it was approved today. So the licensing to the Gaming Commission approved the license today because they got all their paperwork in. So it was approved today, so we should be getting financials, hopefully.
What is the vendor?
Troop.
No, what does it have to do with their financials?
This is just my understanding of it. I'm not, it's a licensing that I guess when they download the machine, it has to do with the machines or something and the kiosks. If they can't download that information or they can't service them, they can't actually go physically into the facility and do their monthly reporting, whatever that is that they do without a gaming license. Since they failed to renew that license in an ample time, they could not go into the facility and pull down that information to give to TDC to run the reports.
Well,
So it'd be inaccurate report.
Right.
Incomplete.
Well, my concern is that it's been 6 weeks since we had the shortfall meeting. And this is 6 weeks tonight, and we still don't know what we're doing. And that's unacceptable.
Well, we probably, I don't know what to tell you, Sammy. If y'all want to call another joint meeting and discuss it with the whole board, I don't.
My whole deal is, why aren't we notified from TDC via email that we're not going to have numbers tonight? I asked for that at our joint meeting, if you recall. It's just good business. If they don't have the numbers, and I'm expecting those numbers, we should have an explanation as to why we don't have those numbers from TDC. That is good business. That is their responsibility, is to communicate. Not to have you communicate, they should be communicating. And again, I'm going to get all riled up because we don't know how much money we have, and we've got people that we've got positions frozen. We're wondering if we can even go to Oklahoma City. It's ridiculous. So I would like to have, Mr. Pratt, if you could please contact them and find out what we're supposed to be doing, it'd be great.
I will contact them in the morning and
Appreciate it.
get you an answer.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Okay, before we move on to old business, I'm going to give Ann an opportunity to make her comments.
Oh, okay.
Because I forgot what you asked me to say.
Okay. We have pie.
Okay.
We have apple and pumpkin. And we had to go up to $3. But I brought Cool Whip. It might be all runny by now, but Cool Whip on top of your pie. And I am in charge of the squares for the Super Bowl. But I'm in charge only tonight. It's $5 a square. The first quarter, somebody will win $50. Second, the half you win 50. Third, you win 50. End of the game, you get 100. And half goes to the Title VI program for a trip to California.
Okay.
And that's all I know about the source.
It's a fundraiser.
Oh, it's a fundraiser. How many squares do you want, Daryl?
All right, well, thank you.
Brought $2.
Since I'm giving a report, we have $800 in the bank for a fundraiser so far. And we really need you guys to help us.
All right. We will. Good. Good. All right, so let's,
Thank you.
Thank you.
let's move to old business. Item number 1, approval of White Fox agreement with Ackerman.
I think the letter of further assurances are in the packet. Talk to Ackerman. Ackerman's willing to cover any and all expenses, including travel.
I got the letter, but the letter does not state that, and the agreement still states, has that clause in there. The letter does not state that, though. It doesn't state, it does not, oh, let me just ask you this from a legal standpoint. Does in your opinion, and I'm gonna hold you to this opinion, does that letter negate the agreement that we sign where it says that we would be responsible for out-of-pocket expenses?
You will be responsible for filing fees and miscellaneous expenses, but that would be, but those are minor expenses. The big expenses and the cost of actually litigating the case and any of the large expenses like travel are covered by the pro bono aspect of the agreement.
So pre-litigation expenses are not the out-of-pocket expenses?
Correct.
Are not the out-of-pocket expenses?
Yes.
Okay, so by that statement, it tells me that we would still be responsible for some out-of-pocket expenses.
Some minor expenses, like filing. Litigation. If we decide to litigate, we have to pay the court filing fee, we have to pay duplication if we want expert witnesses. However, we're not making the decision tonight whether we're going to litigate.
No.
So, I mean,
No, but we're going into an agreement with, but if we decide to do that.
If we decide,
Yeah.
if we decide. Of course, my feeling all along has been that this is going to settle out of court long before then. This will be filed in the DC Circuit.
And this is the White Fox, right?
White Fox.
Yes, yes, and I fully anticipate this to be resolved rather quickly. I think this thing is going to embarrass the Swedish government and the royal family, and that's basically, what we're working towards. So it's going to be a good thing, a great thing.
I agree.
So, that just take into account the court costs and what you're calling, what you just stated, that the attorney's going to charge a fee?
The attorneys will not be charged a fee. It is pro bono.
The way I read the letter. Maybe I read it wrong, interpreted it wrong, but it said that preliminary part would be free, but it didn't say what would happen on the back end.
Well, again, that's if. The back end would be litigation. So you're getting the pro bono is for all the legal work and for other miscellaneous expenses that may be there, including, like I said, travel. They've already mentioned that, they may end up paying the expenses for Maggie to come to Washington, because one of the ways that they intend to litigate this is to tell the story of White Fox in the Washington, D.C. media. That is it's actually a legal strategy.
Thank you.
So in no business, the approval of the White Fox agreement with Ackerman. So we had agreed to proceed based on what we heard back from you, correct? Is that correct?
No, I think didn't we table it?
Or did
You tabled.
Or did we just table everything?
We tabled everything until we got.
That we got the, so what we need is a motion then to proceed with the agreement. Correct?
Yeah, just a motion.
Okay, we need a motion. So we need a motion. Anyone want to entertain a motion?
So, just to clarify in my mind,
Okay.
any expenses on our part are going to be minor, filing fees and things like that.
Correct.
Only if they proceed.
To litigation.
Litigation.
To litigation.
So all we're saying with this agreement is that we're okay with you representing us.
And even then, if, which I highly find doubtful, even if you litigate, it would still be the choice of the council to proceed in that direction.
Right.
But
We
the
don't have-
council is in the driver's seat on the representation.
We don't have any financial commitments at all at this point.
No, it's
Yeah.
kind of like we got a representation with a firm called Earth Justice and
Yeah.
stuff. And basically what happened was we retained them. They did a bunch of legal work for us throughout the course of our meetings with the federal partners. But it wasn't until we decided to litigate this in federal court where we had to come out of pocket to pay for the court filing fee and the mail outs, the notice to the thing. So I think, we've basically spent, I think up to this point, maybe $5,000, $6,000 of the nation's funds. And the vast majority of that came just from the notification, because there's like 500 landowners that we have to notify with a big old packet. So, that's the only real cost that came out of it. That's after we decided to litigate. Because pro bono is a specific thing. There's certain rules that firms can and cannot do when they say we're doing the pro bono.
Right.
At that point, the expense part is going to be a different decision.
It's a different decision.
Correct.
I have no further questions about it. I make a motion to approve White Fox agreement.
We have a motion by Dr. Charles. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Sammy. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Darryl Walcott,
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson,
I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. But I just hope it don't exceed $10,000, even $5,000. But that's my concern, because out-of-pocket expenses. But White Fox, we want to get this done, and that's my reason for not going with this. Thank you.
Sammy Adson,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Yes.
Charles Loche,
Yes.
Charles Knighty.
Yes.
That is approved, the White Fox agreement with Ackerman. We move to item number 11. Do we want to take a break real quick? No?
Good.
Okay, move to item number 11, new business. And we will start with the number 1, approval of resolution 1701, tax commission appointment. Number 2, approval of resolution 1702, tax commission appointment.
President Brown,
Yes,
they're 18/01.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
oh, okay,
Yeah, all of them.
The other 18.
18, so.
No, you're good.
So do we need to amend the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Make the corrections on the resolution.
Okay. Are you all following?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, make the motion.
I make a motion to amend the agenda to correct the resolution numbers to begin with 18 and as follows 1 through 7.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Darryl Walcott,
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson,
Yes.
Sammy Adson,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Yes.
Charles Loche,
Yes.
Charles Knighty.
Yes.
So we have amended the agenda to reflect the changes in resolution numbers to our agenda. And so we are in new business. Item number 1, approval of resolution 1801, tax commission appointment. And item number 2, approval resolution 1802, tax commission appointment. And council, you have the slip of papers there, and we are choosing 2.
Alicia, Megan, Alicia Lady Fox, Leo Ecclelock, Howard Ecclelock, Alicia Lady Fox, Howard Ecclelock, Leo Ecclelock, Alicia Lady Fox, Leo Ecclelock, Alicia Lady Fox, Leo Ecclelock, Howard Ecclelock, Alicia Lady Fox, Howard Ecclelock, Leo Ecclelock. Alicia with 6 and Leo with 5.
So we'll go with Alicia Lady Fox for resolution 1801.
Okay.
And then we'll go with Leo Ecclelock for,
On 1801, these are to fulfill terms, correct? From the last 2 who were taken off of the capital board. The first one, the term ends April 22nd, 2018. And I wasn't for sure if you guys want to go ahead and just appoint them for a 3-year term or to keep it out, the rest of this term until April. But that'll have to be a decision you guys have to make.
What does the article state? Does it state in the articles what their terms will be?
Yes, I believe so.
So we have to go with what the articles state.
Should we get an April?
Yeah.
Sure.
and what about the second one?
The second one is sometime in 2019.
Okay, so we'll go with the resolution 1801, tax commission appointment, Alicia Leading Fox. I need a motion for that.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second? And we got a second. Dr. Cross, call for the vote.
Darrell Walcott,
Yes.
Patricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson.
Yes.
Sammy Dadson.
Yes.
Donna Hare.
Yes.
Charles Oachief.
Yes.
Charles Knight.
Yes.
Alicia Leading Fox is approved for resolution 1801, tax commission appointment. We move to item number 2, approval of resolution 1802, tax commission appointment for Lael Ecclelock. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Have a second?
Second.
Have a second. No, Charles, call for the vote.
Darrell Walcott,
Yes.
Patricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson.
Yes.
Sammy Dadson.
Yes.
Donna Hare.
Yes.
Charles Oachief.
Yes.
Charles Knight.
Yes.
Lael Ecclelock is approved for resolution 1802, tax commission appointment. We move to item number 3, resolution 1803, 1804, and 1805, utility commission appointments. Council, you have your slip of papers in front of you. You can fill them out and we will proceed.
President, I do have a question.
Yes.
So how many boards and commissions can people sit on? Is it 3 commissions?
2 positions.
So 2. So Leo Ecohawk is on all 3 ballots.
They
So-
had asked them in the interviews if they would like to be considered for the other 2 positions, and all of them said yes.
Okay, so when do we stop considering them? After this next one?
Yeah,
Okay.
they were.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Was it the vote of
You see what I'm
And this one will
saying?
be 3 positions.
3
So
positions.
vote for 3.
We're voting for 3.
For utility?
Yes.
Utility?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
Utility.
Okay. Okay. 3 for utility.
Okay. Which way utilities go there? Leanna Chapman Peter, Ann Collins, Leo Eckhart. Leanna Chapman Peter,
I'm sorry.
Ann Collins.
I can't hear. I can't
Oh,
hear.
I'm
Can
sorry.
you start over?
Sure. Leanna Chapman Teeter, Ann Collins, Leo Eckhart. Leanna Chapman Teeter, Ann Collins, Rhonda James. Rhonda James, Leo Eckhart, Alicia Lee Fox. Ann Collins, Rhonda James, Megan Holder. Leanna Chapman Teeter, Rhonda James, Leo Eckhart. Leanna Chapman Teeter, Ann Collins, Rhonda James. Leanna Chapman Teeter, Ann Collins, Rhonda James. Leanna Chapman Teeter, Ann Collins, Rhonda James. Okay, we have Rhonda James with 7, Ann Collins with 6, and Leanna Teeter with 6.
Okay, I'll go in that same order.
Mr. Frank,
So,
can we not go in that same order? Resolution 1702, in their act, it says they can have a community member, which will be Rhonda James. The other 2 positions have to be the tribal members.
Yes.
So she will be a 2-year appointment. There'll be 4-year appointments according to their act. So if we can do the resolution 1805 as Rhonda James.
1805 needs to be Rhonda James?
Yes.
Yes. No problem.
Okay, we have Resolution 1803, Utility Commission appointment for Leanna Teeter. I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made, second.
I'll second.
Have a second. Call for the vote.
Darrell Walcat,
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson. Yeah. Sammy Adson.
Yes.
Donna Hare. Yes. Charles Longshie.
Yes.
Charles Knighty.
Yes.
So Leanna Teeter is approved for Resolution 1803, Utility Commission appointment. We move to item number 4, Resolution 1804, Utility Commission appointment for Ann Collins. I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made, second.
Second.
Have a second. Call for the vote.
Darrell Walcat,
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson.
Yes.
Sammy Adson.
Yes.
Donna Hare. Yes. Charles Longshie.
Yes.
Charles Knighty.
Yes.
All right, Ann Collins is approved for Resolution 1804, Utility Commission appointment. We move to item number 5, Resolution 1805, Utility Commission appointment, Rhonda James. I need a motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second. Call for the vote.
Darrell Walcat,
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson. Yes. Sammy Adson.
Yes.
Donna Hare. Yes.
Charles Longship,
Yes.
Charles Knight.
Yes.
On to James is approved for Resolution 1805, Utilities Commission appointment. We move to item number 6 and item number 7, Resolution 1806, Environmental Regulatory Commission, and Resolution 1807, Environmental Regulatory Commission. Council, you have the sheet of paper in front of you, so.
Can't check every one.
Cindy, does this need to go in any order, or?
No, one of us is to fulfill a term, one of us is to do a full term.
Keep it down.
Okay, you ready? Howard Echohawk, Leo Echohawk, Ramona Horse Chief, James Rice, Howard Echohawk, James Rice, Howard Echohawk, James Rice, Howard Echohawk, James Rice, Leo Echohawk, James Rice, Howard Echohawk, James Rice, Howard Echohawk. Okay, James Rice 7, Howard Echohawk 6.
Okay. We have James Rice for Resolution 1806, Environmental Regulatory Commission. I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's made. I need a second.
Second.
No, Charles was first, so we'll go with him. Call for the vote.
Darryl Walcott,
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson,
Yes.
Sandy Johnson,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Yes.
Charles Longship,
Yes.
Charles Knight.
Yes.
James Rice has approved Resolution 1806, Environmental Regulatory Commission. We move to number 7, Resolution 1807 for the Environmental Regulatory Commission, Howard Echohawk. I need a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Sammy, seconded by Donna. Call for the vote.
Darryl Walcott,
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson,
Yes.
Sandy Johnson,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Yes.
Charles Longship,
Yes.
Charles Knight.
Yes.
Okay, Howard Echohawk is approved for Resolution 1807, the Environmental Regulatory Commission. We move to item number 8, Budget Committee recommendations. Cindy's messing me up.
Budget Committee reviewed a new budget. It's the approval of the 2018 Good Health and Wellness budget. It's a grant award from the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board in the amount of $15,000. The majority of it is for contractual work for fitness classes and things like that. Budget Committee reviewed and recommends approval, and I make that motion.
Motion is made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Go ahead.
Sammy seconds.
Thanks, Charles.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Darryl Walcott,
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson,
Yes.
Sandy Johnson,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Yes.
Charles Longship,
Yes.
Charles Knight.
Yes.
So that is approved. All right, good. Move to item number 9, selection and approval of FY16 ICDBG Pawnee Nation Ceremonial Campground and Nature Fit Trail Architect Engineer.
Somebody explain this to me.
Well, today we interviewed 3 architecture firms. We interviewed Blue River Architect, Blue Star, Integrative Studio, and Anishinaabe. So we need to pick out of those three: Anishinaabe, Blue Star, and Blue River.
We don't have any paper on this one, sorry.
I got it.
Oh, we got it right.
I just give them
Could I ask a
Yes,
question?
yes,
You said you interviewed those folks today.
yes.
Did you have any recommendations, or how does that work? Who all sat in on interviews?
I was for two and I'm calling. She five of us
Did you make recommendations, or?
No, I wasn't able to attend that meeting today, so I have to abstain. I didn't get enough information from anybody. So that's going to be my position.
Okay, what I was asking was the process.
Yeah.
I'm just asking about the process. So I asked how many attended because I wanted to know how many people have input into the selection. And do you make a recommendation, or you just individually vote for them then? Is that what the process is?
Yeah, but that's the way we've done it before, is just vote for them.
I just have a comment on the Anishinaabe. I like those people, but, and I was on the council when we did the Elder Center design. I like that one. But some of the other ones look like institutionalized buildings. I don't really care. I mean, this is just me speaking, just me. I don't really care for the design of those other buildings that much. In retrospect, if I would have done things differently, I would have done a new. They look retroactive. I just don't like their design. For whatever it's worth, I don't like those designs. I don't like the concrete and the stone.
windows.
The window, I don't. So I'm just, that's my 2 cents. Thank you for letting me talk.
I agree. So does anybody have any feedback on the interviews today?
Very, very good.
All of them have their own little qualities?
Yeah.
I looked at the, if you went to the team's website, it had the scoring.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I, we got 30 minutes with them at council today, and this is a huge undertaking.
Sure.
And so I relied on the committee. My hopes is that the committee that sat on that, and maybe Daryl and Donna can speak to that because they were on there. I looked at who they were. I felt that they were capable in making those decisions, and so I listened to them. And I think another important piece of it is listening to how they present and what they have to say, because you kind of get a feel for how you're going to be able to work with them and what their personality is going to be, I think, in addition to what they put on paper, because anybody can make paper look good, but I do rely on people that sit on that committee, and they rank them, they score them, they delve into the detail. We just look at their recommendations, interview them, answer any questions that we had. I like Blue Star, and that's who I'm voting for.
Blue Star?
Yes. Just because I read their profile, and I think that was the highest one you all recommended anyway. So, for what it's worth, that's my input.
Thank you.
Okay, just a question, how do you pronounce that?
Anishinaabe.
I'm gonna say one for Anishinaabe.
Ask Brian, he's Anishinaabe.
It says no right here.
One for Blue Star. Abstain. Anishinaabe. Abstain. Anishinaabe. 4 for Anishinaabe, 1 for Blue Star.
I would just like to say, and I know I didn't say this in the interview, but I'm talking to our staff. It's going to be very, for this project to not run into any budget issues, that the team, whoever this is on that design team, stay within the confines of that budget. With the aquatic center, we ran into, when these people presented to us, I thought we were going to be able to, what they showed me, that we were going to get $1 million project from what they presented to me, and we went, and that's why I made my decision. Well, then it turned it into a $3, $4, $7 million project after everything was done. Now, I don't know if that was based on the design team adding changes and things of that nature. I don't know, but you know, when somebody presents to me that they're going to be able to do a project for this amount of money, and that's why we go with them, then it ends up tripling. You know, I have issues with that.
Right.
So I just want to state that I hope that the design team will stay within the confines of that budget, because we're not going to be able to come back and add more money to it, and I don't want to turn away another grant. I don't. So that's my 2 cents.
I would like to be involved in that design committee. I would like to do that. I didn't do that for the pool, and I don't do that. We went down a very long path.
I have a question. What are they going to build?
What?
What are they going to build?
The campground project and a fitness trail.
Showers.
Showers, hookups, RV hookups. They're at the campground, electricity upgrade.
I would say this much, and just food for thought, is that we have, that's our fireplace after for the Pawnee chapter for our NHC meetings. We have to take it up on the weekends. It'd really be nice to be able to have a place right there to cook, and even if it's not within this thing, I really want us to look at even like those small outbuilding kind of things that you can put up that aren't real expensive, to have a place right there to go to. I think that's important, and we also would like to have some benches around that teepee ground so people can sit in the morning. They don't have that right now.
I know this is an open forum, but I gotta say this. I think this council needs to do more planning or something, because these are the swimming pool project and this campgrounds project are both Indian Community Development Block Grant HUD grants.
Yes.
But you both, for each grant you got, like what, 800 and some odd thousand, you had to put in, for each grant, that's the amount the government's going to give you to build that building. The tribe has to come up with the in-kind of about $250,000. That's almost $1 million grant. I understand that swimming pool initially was right around $1 million grant. When you wrote it, that's what you said you were going to build it for. And now the same thing, same amount for this campground. So you got 2 projects here. One is the swimming pool, one is the campground. As a tribal member, I'd rather, I know you've already made this decision, but I'm just telling you this, and I do have a point. The point is planning. If you look at planning these 2 projects, one of them is going to have a priority over the other. You shouldn't let things outside of that periphery dictate what project you're going to get. It should come from the community. It should come from a priority that the community wants. As a community member, even though I don't live here, I grew up here. I would have loved to have that swimming for our kids. Some of you all didn't grow up right here in this community. I did. I still know that there's kids out there that don't have a thing to do. There's no way to work off their aggression and all that. There's no activities and that sort of thing for them. That pool would have filled a big void. I just came from an education thing across the way. That's another planning thing. We should have our people be able to go to the council meeting and to the education meeting and not have them all scheduled on the same night. The other thing is that tumbling had been, it is thing. A lot of our little kids depend on that tumbling class. That was another thing. All of these, you all need to look at planning your activities so that our tribal members can go to anyone they want to and not have them all on the same day. You need to make sure that your priorities are in place in terms of if you want a swimming pool or if you want a campgrounds. I want a swimming pool for our kids because we all say when you're ready for council and everything, oh, it's our youth, oh, it's our elders. So here was a chance to help our youth, and now we don't have a pool. And now we have a campground. I was for the pool. So I'm not complaining, I'm stating some facts and I'm stating the way I feel. I'm just saying, please look at doing better planning in terms of what you really want in the community and why you want it, and put your dollars behind it. When you plan $1 million project, make it $1 million project. You don't have enough money to make that project work, you still want it to work, give it to the staff. You've got a capable staff here, that's why you hired them, for our people. Tell them that's what you want, tell them to fix it. Come up with options and bring it back to the tribe. Those should be tribal priorities, not dependent on whoever else wants them. It should come from the community, and we should go find ways to make it happen. That's what a successful council does, that's what leaders do. So I'm not bawling you out, I'm just bringing this to the table.
I thought the pool project became prohibitive.
Excuse me?
I thought the pool project became prohibitive from
What
an
I'm
expense
saying-
standpoint.
Charlie, what I'm
But it
saying-
started off with saying, this is what we want, and then,
Yes, exactly, and why did it do that? Why did it balloon out like that? Why wasn't there more control over that? Why wasn't there options brought and really studied in terms of how we could have made it happen?
That's what I
I'm
asked.
saying.
That's what I asked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
These were all community meetings. One
I was
community
there.
for the pool and another community for the campground.
Okay.
I didn't agree with spending $1 million at a campground. I've never seen an RV down there hooked up. I don't get it, but that's what the community.
That's part of my point.
I don't get it, so, we just.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time and listening to me. But and thank you for providing the forum so that we can tell you how we feel. There's only a handful of us here, but we made our way over here, so thank you for letting us talk. And I hope you'll listen. Thank you.
Carol?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I agree with you on the swimming pool, and I could not be here on the night of the council meeting because the council meeting was rescheduled. And so, I had a work obligation and I couldn't be here. So I couldn't voice my opinion at the time. But I think that most know that I wanted the pool, I supported the pool. It was more for, what do you call it, physical therapy, but it could also have been, for the kids' pool. One of the staff had said, I think it was Andrew, that we could build, and we ran into a lot of problems with where we had it, trying to build it right here by the Wellness Center. But somebody had said that, well, we could always build a pool at another time. I'm going to hold you to that. Whoever said that, we're going to find a way to build a pool because we need to invest in the health of our community and in the health of our tribal members. Swimming is the best way to do it.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that. And I agree with you.
Thank you. Move to item number 10, approval of Pawnee Nation liquor control fee changes.
There was no motion to approve.
Oh, sorry. We did not do that, did we? I'm sorry. Number 9, let's go back to 9. Need a motion to approve on a Anishinaabe as the architect engineer. Entertain a motion.
Make that motion.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call for the vote.
Dale Earnhardt,
yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson, yes. I say yes, I'm going on the majority vote here. Okay.
I said yes.
Sammy Hanson.
Abstain.
Donna Hare,
Yes.
Charles Sloan Chief,
Yes.
Charles Knight Chief.
Abstain.
So that is approved. The Anishinaabe is approved as the architect engineer. Move to item number 10.
I've got a question. How much is it going to cost for this engineer to come up with this plan?
Great question.
Brian.
How much?
Yeah, question.
How much is it going to cost for the engineer to come up with this plan?
Well, we'll know that in the design phase. So, like Sammy, and we'll get a whole bunch of people, and we'll give out details of what we're visioning. They'll put it on the table, or on paper, and then they'll break down the cost. So before we even start the construction side, we'll have at least, I'm thinking, between 2 to 4 options of where we want to utilize our costs, and then we'll know from there after.
And instead of RV hookups, build yurtsies, which is little round buildings. Yes.
Yurtsies?
Yes.
What?
What are those?
They're little round buildings made out of fabric and stuff.
What purpose do they serve?
They're campgrounds.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that like putting the cart before the horse?
I mean,
So,
if you're gonna do.
if you're selecting your architect firm right now without even knowing what they're gonna cost, that's like putting the cart before the horse. I've been in procurement a long time.
I think
You
there was
put out your design phase. I'm just saying.
The problem is the design is basically our grant. I mean, we put in the grant what we want, and then HUD requires us to get an A&E. I mean, that's the
I
issue.
get
So then
that.
you have to solicit for an A&E to actually do a design. And, I mean,
Can't you say I want 28 RV hookups, I want an arena, I want an MC stand, I want this, and I want that?
Yes.
You show me, you design it and show me what it's gonna look like on a blueprint, and you tell me what it's gonna cost as an architect to do that.
yeah, that's what we do.
And that was in the RFP, right?
Yeah, that was in the
And that's
RFP.
what they responded to.
That's what they responded to.
And they didn't put a dollar amount of what they're gonna charge to do this?
Well, I don't remember if
When you submitted the
yes, they did. They
Yeah.
did because they submitted bids.
Okay, so how much is it?
I don't know. I wasn't there at the bidding.
When you all did the ICDBG budget, you submitted a budget to the funding agency. How much did you put in there for the A&E firm?
That was before me, so I'll have to, I'll get that to you tomorrow, but this grant was, 2016.
But that's what happened with the pool. That's what happened with the pool. They said, oh, it's $1 million. Well, when it came down, it was up at like 2.5 million, 2.7 million, and we kept bucking it down. And we ended up not getting the
Well,
pool.
with the pool, when they put that ICBG in, the cost of pool went up since when we got to the phase of design. So when we did the cost analysis from that grant to today, the plumbing and everything in the pool, it jumped up 10, 15, 20%. So that's why we're kind of off on the budget.
Okay.
10 or 15, 20%. If it was $1 million, that would have made it $1.2 million, not 2.1.
The pool was never just a $1 million project. I mean, we had budgeted 1.5, I think, initially for the pool. It was never just a strict $1 million budget. So, and it
Was that a pool with a building, or was it just?
Yeah, no, it was enclosed. Yeah, it was enclosed.
Enclosed?
Because it wasn't really a recreational pool. That's not what we wrote it for in the grant. It was a therapy pool for.
Which is like a lap pool?
No, not the grant we wrote. No.
And did we contact anybody like in Florida or that do pools all the time?
Yeah.
And did we use our own TDC construction company to see if they could do it?
Problem was that it was not a residential type of pool, and that limited the number of people who could actually contract out to build it because they have to go with more strict regulations and such.
There's water clarity and all that.
Well, even the materials.
Size of the pump and all that stuff. So, but as far as the cost for these guys, that money, that amount had already been decided on previous grant, right? And then when these guys came into interviews, we already knew how much money we were gonna be able to spend for these guys, whoever we decided on, right?
And they're all gonna short the same amount.
But
That's
we
why
put
we put
in
a
bids,
bid
right?
in, yeah, yes, sir.
But we knew how much we were gonna be able to spend, and they put bids in. Is that correct?
Yeah, because the funds have already been allocated for the campground.
I'd like to know how much the bid put. How much money
Yeah,
they
the bids are on the team page. Again, I wasn't involved in
I didn't see the document, maybe I just missed it.
We received 5 and we sent the 3 best to
Yeah.
council for approval.
All right, item number 10, approval of Pawnee Nation liquor control fee changes. Live.
Senator Campbell. Under the Act, Article 6 of the Liquor Control Act, it requires council to approve the fees for the Liquor Control Board, and we have some 3 fees that need to be approved. Individual is actually a new fee, and the fee on that will be $25. It's for individual licensing. Then we have the manager, assistant manager fee, license fee, which is going to be $50. And that's a new fee. And then the third fee is actually entity fee. It's actually currently set at $150, but it's going to be bumped up to $250. And the reason being is under the article, we had to start doing individual licensing, and that's one thing that the Able Commission is requesting us to do is individual licensing. And there has been no fee set in the previous application, and they're ready to start the individual license process now to make sure that we're in compliance with the Able Commission as well. Any questions?
Is the Able Commission standards included in this, so we can look at them?
Well, according to ours, it's actually this is actually the tribe's ordinance there, but we still remain in compliance with the Able Commission.
Correct.
And they wanted individual licensing for our licensing bodies there. And we've had issues with the violations, and as it stands right now, with if they're not individually licensed, we can't pursue them as far as violations as individuals, the employees under our current act, unless they're licensed. And we don't have no license fee in place there. So it's just more about active bodies to make sure that we're in compliance with the Able Commission, and then mainly primarily to address violations. As an individual, when they sign the license applications, it agrees where they consider our tribe's jurisdiction. Same thing with the manager, assistant manager, where they agree to consent to tribe's jurisdiction. And that entity license, that's a current license, because that's how it's set up right now. It's just set up on an entity license, and then one license under that. And that was a big issue whenever we had some violations occur. They said that you've got to have it with each ones that serve. They need to be licensed, the same as the state. So, like for the TBC, this involved 21 employees. That's going to be for the restaurant and out there, casino. And then for TP, it's just going to involve 5 employees. So that would be a total of 26 employees that would have to be licensed. But again, like under our act, it requires council to approve the licensing fee. And there's currently no license fee in place there. So the liquor board cannot continue. They'll get that fee put in place there.
I guess my question was, you stated that the Able Commission recommended this. Do you have the documentation that where they state they wanted us to comply with this?
No, actually, it was actually through whenever I come on board, start working with the Liquor Control Commission as a staff support there. There were some issues with some violations occurred before, and I was brought up to speed by the previous chairperson, and then also with Phyllis, who's the remaining member. We had a Liquor Control Commissioner that had passed away, so those are the 2 that brought me up to speed on that there. And the tribe's Attorney General at the time, Jeffrey Steinberg, agreed that you need to have them follow the license process, and said that on the license, it'll have where they can set the tribe's jurisdiction there. And again, it was just dealing with some violations at the time there. The reason being was the tribe was about to lose its, it was getting ready for the tribe's liquor license. And that's why the tribal attorney general got involved with the chairperson, who at the time was Pete Moore. So that's the reason why they say that they need to be an active body with the liquor control board there, and that they actually truly pursue or make sure that we're in compliance with the liquor laws there. So, you know, there has been some violations, but again, that they can't pursue them at this point since we don't have the individual's license. And in that situation that occurred previously, there was just one license, and because of those violations, the liquor control board had to suspend under that license. In essence, it shut down the casino, and it was kind of a big issue where it was on New Year's Eve. So become a big legal issue where, so that's why the April Commission said you need to have these individual licenses. That way, those individuals that committed those violations could have been, their license suspended, but it wasn't just that entity license that was had to be pulled. Because as it stands right now, there's just one entity license. And that's the reason being you had to have individual licensing. Because if there's any more future violations, they would have to pull the entity license. But currently right now, since I'm also on the Gaming Commission, so we are addressing the violations on the gaming side there. You know, luckily that on the liquor control board, they actually could have pulled the license of that one individual. And it's actually, it wasn't fair to that individual who's licensed to have his license pulled and really shut down the whole facility there. So we want to proceed forward with the, we actually have everything in place, the licenses. All we lack is just the fees to proceed forward with the officially approving.
I guess I'm a little confused because the letter states that you all approved it by resolution. You mentioned one of January 11th of 02, and then another one of October 20th, 2016. Then you reference some issues that happened in 2012. But if we've been operating without these since 2012 when they were trying to pull our license, I don't understand what the need. I mean, if they didn't pull our license and they're making that I guess I would like to see the recommendation by the Able Commission to compare it to what you all are recommending.
It's okay. Well, it's actually according to the act that because under Article 6, because the act was actually revised in June of 2017, where we proceed with individual licensing, and that's when the individual license was starting to proceed on that point there. So it's kind of like I said, it's at that point where they need to proceed forward with the individual licensing. We did have, now that it's fully staffed, they recommended that this be a 5-member commission, and then council, we had to go ahead and go and advertise for some new commission members. Now that it's fully staffed, they're going to proceed forward with the licensing part there.
I can add a little bit to it. This has been an ongoing issue, and that's why we have so many different things with ABLE in different times, because it's been an ongoing issue with ABLE. And you know, from what I understand, talking to some of the commissioners before they did that, is that there was a real threat to the loss of our liquor license because of the way we structured it. And one of the remedies that we did was we gave out an institutional liquor license, but then we made one person hold a liquor license. So essentially what happened for the last couple of years is you had one person in the entire TDC organization that was responsible for all of the liquor license. He or she was the liquor license holder. So if somebody violated ABLE law, then that one person in the entire TDC structure would be responsible and accountable for that action. And and that was because of the haphazard way the individual licenses were applied. I think it was a misunderstanding between what Abel was recommending that we follow and what we were implementing. So it's been a long process, and until we got into this in last year, yeah, we got changes to the new statute and everything else. We basically, we're taking the Able standard is basically what we're doing. And we're doing a little bit cheaper than what Able does. But this way you have accountability at every level and you have jurisdiction for liquor sales and all that kind of stuff.
What's your recommendation?
My recommendation is that in order to proceed with our alcohol sales, we need to have this stricture in place. Now, the fee system, of course, is for us to cover administrative costs and rates, but it's cheaper than Able. I think Able charges $30 for individual fees and $55 for management fees and all that. So it's in line with what Able does. But we can't have the previous scheme that we have now, which is one person in charge of or responsible for all the liquor in the entire TDC corporation.
Okay.
So at some point, somebody thought that by having one person in charge
That it would cover Able.
ain't gonna work.
That would cover whatever we wanted, yeah.
So are these fees included? They're not a part, they're addendum to the act?
Yeah, they're an addendum to the act, because right now we don't have any fee structure in place other than an institutional fee. I think we license the corporation, and then another fee that, again, is that one person within TDC that's responsible for all of them.
And the fees are extremely large.
And so right now, we don't currently license individuals. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay, even though the act states that all persons or entities that desire to sell liquor within Indian country must apply to the commission for a license to sell or serve liquor?
That's correct, because that was approved by council in June of 2017.
That's the change.
Research and process there.
Okay.
It just took us a long time to develop the application, the scheme that we needed to.
Basically, this is implementation.
So why isn't TDC paying these alcohol beverage
They should be.
fees?
I mean, they should be. I mean, most corporations pay their.
They should be paying it. This shouldn't even be coming to us, really.
No.
We have to approve the fee schedule.
Yeah.
So we have to approve the fee schedule, but it's coming out of that.
Yes.
I think what you're getting at, Sandy, is TDC could pay that as a courtesy
For their employees.
Oh, they should.
Yeah.
I think you're right on that.
Sure. But we're not saying we're approving to pay for the fees, we're just approving.
You're implementing the details of the statute.
I have a question. So that was partially my question. Who pays for the fees?
Yeah.
And how much are the fees going to be? And if there's a liquor violation, who pays for that violation?
Right.
The individual would be responsible for the license. At the same time, that's why you have an assistant manager, the entity. So actually they can pursue the violations. If they weren't properly changed by the manager, and if the entity didn't have the proper training protocols in place there, then you can cite the entity.
Correct. Yes,
So,
correct.
So the entity in that case would be the TDC?
yes, correct.
So we would have to pay, we as TDC would have to pay the violation.
Sure.
Correct, yes.
Potentially, but not
And
necessarily.
what are the fees? I mean, how much are the,
20, how much?
how much are the violations?
Oh, I don't know.
You know,
Well, that's just, like, according to the act, it's like $1,000 per violation, say, the current setup is $1,000 per violation. Just like one of the groups had 27 violations, that's for each instance, say someone illegally served alcohol that was brought from a liquor store, that's the violation. They purchased again from the liquor store, that's another violation.
So it's like those two violations, then that employee would be charged $1,000 per violation as an example, and then TDC would pay that?
No.
Yeah, well, see on that part there, if it was a manager who had had them make the purchase, then they would cite the manager.
Let me go ahead and answer this line.
Thank you. I'm trying to get it clear.
Okay, so basically what the license does is it allows these guys to have the jurisdiction to regulate liquor sales. So that's what a license does. And a license also proves that the people that have them are in compliance with our liquor laws, which closely mirror ABLE essentially. But if there's a violation, if you have a server who's violating the liquor laws, and it's that server's own violation, they have the training, the entity has the protocols in place, that potentially the server is the one that is held accountable for that violation, not TDC.
So the individual would have to pay?
Correct.
Unless it's an institutional?
Unless they weren't trained properly.
Unless there's a malfeasance issue on the part of the institution.
You have a bad manager, or you have a bad
That's why training
entity
is
or whatever.
pivotal. As
Right.
long as TDC properly trains, they're okay. That's why you make sure to train them very well.
But it's better than having one person in charge of all the liquor in the
it's
entire
not a good idea.
organization,
I understand
because
Not a good idea.
then,
Yeah, I get that.
yeah.
Okay, I think I'm understanding.
Does it make sense now?
Yeah,
And TDC
yeah,
has been
thank
doing the training process for the employees as we developed this since June. You know, they've been working with we've been working with the DD and the Attorney General throughout this whole process to make sure we're in compliance with avoiding issues with the trials license approvals there.
So as the corporation, the TDC being the corporation that the employee is employed under, the TDC would have to could pay the license fee?
Potentially, if
The license fee? I'm
Yeah,
not talking about the
The
violation.
license fee it would be a courtesy for the employee.
There's a lot of corporations that do.
Sure.
When you get hired on as a server, they pay for your license
Yeah,
fee and
sure,
their training.
I got it.
There's a lot of corporations that don't, so
Okay.
it's up to you.
It would be up to the TDC, but it would be a nice courtesy.
And Mr. Smith is aware of that, and he acknowledged that that's potential what they're more likely to do there. So that's for the TDC board to check with them on that part there.
But that's not his decision, the decision is up to the board, and that's why I'm asking all these questions.
Yeah, I
Well,
understand.
thank you. I know you all do, I'm just making a statement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So these fees are in line with ABLE, or are they less than ABLE?
They're slightly less than people.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the Pawnee Nation liquor control fee changes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
I'm not keen on
We already have
We have a motion and a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Call for the vote.
Darryl Wildcat,
Yes.
Tricia McCray, yes. Angela Thompson,
Yes.
Sammy Hanson,
Yes.
Donna Hare,
Yes.
Charles Archie,
Yes.
Charles Archie.
Yes.
All right, that is approved.
Thank you.
Dang. Wow.
Sure, Rob, they did work
Oh,
along
we're
there.
on the road on that one.
High-pitched voice talking.
Yes, but everybody's got a good understanding.
Yeah. All right, let's move to item number 12, open forum.
Just real quick, I went to the Pawnee Education Community Project, but I had to come back over here so I couldn't stay. But had some good discussion with some tribal, there's a lot of tribal members there. And I would ask that the council fill out these surveys, and maybe if they can get them to Cindy and,
Get on the website.
yeah, and then I'll give you all an address who to forward them to. Appreciate it, thank you.
You could do Survey Monkey and just seriously on the net, and just have people just hit and do the survey, and you get everything right then and there, instead of having paper trails.
Carol.
I would like to comment on the education thing that I went over there for. Will Dover is Kevin Dover's son, and is heading up that project. And we broke into groups, and we all had a mediator at each table, and it was really empowering. Yeah, it was. I didn't expect for it to be so empowering, but it was, because I was trying to eat my Indian taco and get over here. But I stayed and listened to what everybody had to say, and the whole thing is to establish a charter school, the possibility of establishing a charter school here in the Pawnee community. So what they wanted to do is look at what the community views were that should go into that charter school. And I urge the council to get acquainted with this project. They're going to have more meetings and hopefully support this project, because it's talking about empowering our youth and our kids that go to school. It's talking about the possibility of building their self-esteem through history being taught, Indian history, which is missing, as we know, in the public school system. Bringing that right into the real Indian history, the thing that really happened. You know, bringing the real Indian history into the public school system through a charter school, telling our culture, telling the things that Indian people, the contributions that we have made to society and whole, sharing our values that were passed on down to us, like that presentation that we did of those elders back in the day, me and my Cheyenne sister Catherine Bell, where we videotaped all those elders, and then we got those videotapes, and we got Taylor and Zach and John Michael Knight to come together and have us put that booklet in our video together and make a presentation over here. It was good to see those elders, to actually see them, to actually have them telling us our ways and what we should be doing. And what I told those folks over there, those are the kind of things that need to be passed down, not only to our Indian children, but to everybody, because they're universal values. Be good to one another. If you see someone that needs help, help them. If you know somebody's sick, go check on them. That's what those elders told us, that it used to be a long time ago. If there was somebody, if they were at a dance and there was somebody missing, some elder or whatever, they would get them a dish and they would take it to them afterwards, just to check on them. Go check on your elders, go check on your people, somebody's missing, go check on them. Those are universal values. They're not just Indian values, they're our values, and they mean a lot to us, and they're going to help us bring our kids up in a good way and have them get more self-esteem and make better choices and go a long way in the educational way. So I urge the council to please get behind that project, or at least investigate it for yourself and see some of the good things that I think that charter school can do here in our community. Thank you.
Even if you're not for a charter school, at least some of the information and the values that she spoke of, you know, that we probably maybe need to implement here in some of our youth programs.
President, I have something for the forum. Sure. And this is all relative to the TDC report that we did not get tonight. We were promised during our joint meeting that we would have a report at the last meeting of the month. I have nothing in my files that said that anything was even sent via email or any way else. But it's been 6 weeks since we were told about a shortfall financially. And still to this day, after 6 weeks, we still don't know where we're at. Have nothing. Now another excuse is that some vendor didn't have a license and they were unable to get the total dollars that were generated out of the casino. I find it very disappointing, unacceptable, unprofessional, and it seems like an excuse after an excuse. And I would challenge you as council members, what would you say if that was happening right here? We couldn't get numbers. It's our business, folks. You know, we're talking about a pool. I'd love to have a pool in this splash pad for kids. We can't even hire anybody, and still 6 weeks later, we still don't even know how much money we've generated. I just find it just completely terrible. And I want to know, when are we going to have that leadership team step up and be professional and be forthcoming and at least have the courtesy to email us, oh, well, I'm sorry, but our vendor didn't have a license and we can't give you financials for the past 6 weeks. So I'm going to challenge you all to think about it and consider it, because this is a business council. This is nothing against anybody personally. It's a business. And I want to know where the money is and how much money we have.
And if I'm the only council member that feels like that, then so be it. I'm going to go on record to say that I challenge you to ask that same question to yourselves. That's all I got.
I'll let somebody else that was in on that joint meeting respond before I respond.
Yeah,
That was on.
absolutely.
Bruce, can you respond to that? Some of the things that would come up at the joint meeting, I thought are regarding our reports and that sort of thing.
Well, I don't know why we don't have a report tonight.
Didn't we change the?
Yeah.
We did. We're supposed to have a written report at the second council meeting.
And a financial. We were promised a financial.
Of the month.
The second council meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is tonight.
Yeah, but that's what was determined, but it was left, I don't know, it needs to be removed off the agenda to reflect what we decided.
Yeah.
Although I did email you, Sammy, and let you know what was the outcome of that meeting. I responded to your email. I know was not an official response from Junior or Mr. Smith, but I did respond to your email, let you know, and it's not an excuse, it's the truth, you know, and I know you're frustrated as well, but I thought we made some huge strides in that joint meeting, you know, and what was discussed and what some of the outcomes were going to be and how we were going to work together, and as a TDC board member as well, we are making some huge progress. So, you know, and I'm sorry that the financials are not there. We had to table them. We had to table the financials and the EBITDA, and to determine if there was going to be a distribution. So I can't answer you because I didn't have that information either. But it's not that we're not going to get them. There was a legitimate reason why we didn't have them, and the other thing from that meeting that came out is that council is supposed to get information to Bruce so that he can forward it on that format on what is expected. So we need council to respond to that request as well so that we as TDC can instruct Roger, this is the format. We just had that meeting, when was it?
The first part.
Yeah, and so we need to know what the format is. We're willing to comply, we're willing to give him that directive, but we need to know exactly what you all want on there. We discussed that format, and we just need to follow through with what we want to request, because we can surely get that for you all.
That's right, and Ange, that you sent me that, you and I communicated. All I said was, hey, I'm not going to be able to make the TDC meeting. How did it go?
Yes.
And you said it went well, that there was lots to be discussed. You met for 4 hours. There was the financial was tabled due to the vendor licensing, but that was on the 19th. Okay, that was on the 19th. This is the 25th, and here we are still not knowing.
And the vendor license just came through today.
Well,
It just got approved today. But we're working on it, Sam.
Right. It just taps on that business.
We've got to respond and follow up through for TDC to respond. We said we wanted the format to change, but I haven't seen any emails coming through from anybody.
They agreed that night.
Yeah, but I haven't seen, but we as council are supposed to submit what we want in that format to them so that we know exactly what needs to be in that written report. Because the other rep was that it was written, I mean, it was verbal and not written.
Right.
So we decided we wanted it written, but we need to know what all you all wanted.
Well, you know what we want. I mean, certainly, I mean, their leadership team, they should know that we just want an update as to what's going on, how business is, any type of capital that they're working on. I mean, it's just norm. I mean, it's not rocket science.
I agree with you, Sammy. I agree with you. We've been going through this thing round and round and round. That's why we asked for something in writing. That's just why. It isn't rocket science, but until we see exactly what you all want, and everybody on that board sees that, we're not going to be able to give it to you. We have no problem giving it to you. And let me also say, we have made some fantastic progress. Hard work. You guys can't see it because we're doing the work. And you know that TDC has been where it has been for years. So we can't expect it to turn around overnight, but I guarantee you that we are making some significant progress. And we are putting them in policy. They call me Policy Carol here. It's okay with me because I want a policy, we want a policy down there so that when new people come on TDC like Charlie did, or anybody else, those policies are written there and they're left and they're institutionalized there. So when the new board member comes in, they can see that. That's why we're working on the plan, so we all have a picture of the plan, including the council, all be one plan. So when a new council comes in, a new TDC board member comes in, they don't have to wander around in the dark and try to figure out where we're going to go from. And you're doing a good part as well by demanding the financials and stuff. Those will be a part of the policy. Examples will be in that book that will show this is what you're going to give to the council. This is what you're going to do it. It's part of our policy. If our staff don't follow through, then we deal with our staff.
Well, you can.
But we're working, Sandy. We're working.
I understand that the board is working. My problem is that the last council meeting, we were handed a piece of paper with these little blue bars on it and told that the accounting staff was all sick and we couldn't get financials. And now this time, we've got a vendor problem with the license problem, and we still don't know what we're doing. I'm just saying, 6 weeks in, I've kind of had it, you know. I want to know what we're doing.
Well, the tribe.
That's all.
I get it, believe me. And I think the tribe feels some people that tribe feel your frustration because they felt those frustrations for years over some things happening at TDC. But look how long it's taken. Now we're going forward, so we need the council support. Keep asking the questions. You're right to do that, but know that we're working. And I mean, you know, why are we doing this? It's for the people. We're not doing it for ourselves.
I understand.
I don't drive down from 2-hour drive to get down to that meeting because I'm going to be taking away big consulting bucks. No, I do it because of the people, and that's what the rest of the board does it for too. And I'm thankful for that board. They're not all Pawnee tribal members, but they're there doing the work, and I appreciate that. And everybody is bringing some expertise to that table. And I think you're going to be surprised at how things are going to be starting to move along. We get our planning down in concert with the council. All of our goals are the same. We're all moving in the same direction. We have policies so the council and everybody else knows how we operate. It's in the works.
Well, and you know, we at this table here are all for the people as well.
I know that.
And it's our responsibility to be forthcoming and to be transparent and be responsible.
Right.
I am being responsible by asking for the numbers.
Yes, you are.
So I'm going to let it go. That was my open forum. Thank you very much for listening. And you guys have to decide if it's okay. For me, it's not okay.
Okay, on February the 3rd, we have quarterly meeting, and that's on Saturday. And so we have the quarterly meeting, and at that quarterly meeting, JR and Roger will present the TDC report, quarterly TDC report. And so that's the format that we established and we agreed to in the joint meeting. It was also stated in the joint meeting that this council would get to me the format for whatever report that we wanted from TDC. Have not received anything officially from any of you to pass on to the TDC board. So if you want to write something up, what you want monthly, what you want quarterly, what you want annually, get that to me and I'll pass it on. The other thing is February 3rd is the quarterly meeting. We were scheduled to meet on February the 13th, but if we can we meet the following week? Because I will be in DC and probably another council member, if they go to NCAI, will also be in DC. Could we do the 20th? The February 3rd and February 20th.
How about the 15th? You're gone, right?
Yeah. Or even the 22nd. 20th or the 22nd.
would be the date, 20th or 22nd.
20th, everybody good?
20th. So February 20th, Cindy, we'll meet on the 3rd and then on the 20th,
Not 6.
6 o'clock.
President Pratt, I'll get you a list of stuff I'd like to see at the quarterly meeting from the TDC board.
Okay. All right, if there's no other forums, have a motion to dismiss.
Motion dismissed.
Make a motion, is there a second?
Second. Oh, it wants to go?
Donna seconds. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Any opposed, can stay. Stay or dismissed.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Ann has pie and squares. Pie and squares.